Hey, welcome Gold Creek. My name is Brian. I'm the pastor over at our Woodinville campus, and I'm glad you're joining us. We have a lot planned in our service today, so I'm just excited to hear. So if you're newer, new-ish, we want you to text WELCOME to the number on the screen. We want to just connect with you digitally or through an email. And then also, you can also text CONNECT to that same exact number. If you're interested in learning how to get connected midweek, anytime, we have so many different things, connect groups and different ways for you to get involved. So we would love to connect with you if you want that. Otherwise, I want you to sit back, relax, and listen to what the message is going to have to say to you, because I believe God is going to speak to you today.
Hi everyone, my name's Pete Jones. This is my wife Jill. We started going to the Woodinville campus December 24th, 2020. We came in, as many people do. Our daughter went to school at KATC, and it took us a little while to finally walk through the doors to come to church. But of course, December 25th, we were like, okay, Christmas Eve, we'll do it. And we started and kind of haven't left since. Yeah, after that first night, Jill and I were driving home, and we immediately felt a connection. The message that evening really resonated with us. There was something that was sparked within both of us, and we just said to ourselves, let's start doing this. And we made it a habit, and habit may not even be the word, because it wasn't difficult. There was nothing, no chore about it. We look forward to it each Sunday, and seeing the people. We've made many connections, lots of different friends. I attend the AA meeting Monday night, which has meant a lot to me. And Jill has been very involved with the church, not only in volunteering on Sunday morning, but she is now a teacher at the preschool.
Yes, I've always wanted to help out. At first, it benefited me more on to have the sense of comfort to know that I have a community. Never really felt so much like welcome with the Gold Creek Church. And to see that my kids are going to grow up knowing that we go to church every Sunday and learn like the prayers and be around Christian kids and all that, it just makes my heart feel very, very happy to know that we have that community of good people. And I'm really, really grateful for the church for that.
Yeah, to the new person sitting here, maybe wondering, whether they're going to take that step to attend church regularly or get involved and volunteer, whatever it may be, be bold. If there's any calling that you're hearing or feeling of giving this a shot, I really hope that you come repeatedly. We found a community here, we truly have. And we have people now that we can call that can help us in a pinch to babysit our kids. Yeah. We have families that we go on vacation with. It has been the blessing of our life and our marriage so far to have found this and gotten in touch with our faith together. Yeah. And it truly has happened here at Gold Creek for us.
Moded because we now have videos before me. I prefer to have some pop music playing behind me. I have been lobbying for pyrotechnics for at least a year. Nothing. Don't you guys think it'd be awesome if when I walked up there was just a little bit of firework? Not a lot. I mean, nothing gaudy. Just a little. So yeah, maybe even just those little poppers would be perfectly fine. That would make me feel kind of special coming up, a little rock music. But the thing that I think about, when we're growing as a church, here that couple just talked about they found Woodinville in 2020. I was on the board for the founding campus back when they first started meeting. Anybody know where they met? If you do, shout it out. For years, not kidding, sewage treatment plant for years. I kid you not, Brian sent out a mailer. That, you talk about being bold at that campus. If the ish hits the fan in your life, come meet us at Brightwater. Anything to get people to come to that campus. And he did, and now they have this beautiful campus on Highway 9. People see driving by, they have the preschool. That family has found a community of believers and a community of people to raise their children inside of. where they're going to learn about Jesus, where they're going to learn about God's love, where they're going to learn how to become caring adults and members of their community. And they started just like us. And that's why it's going to take boldness on our part. It's going to take boldness to do something like my wife and I did a marriage retreat. We got a hotel room down in Mukilteo for Friday and Saturday night, kind of planning out our year and thinking about those things. You know what I would love to do? Still be in bed right now with my wife. No offense to y'all, right? Now, what she'd rather do is be holding that little baby in the back, so thank you, Lauren. She's happy as can be back there. But I want us to be bold in little things like, yeah, I'm tired. Or, yeah, I'd rather be in bed, but I'm going to get to church because I'm in town. Yeah, maybe I didn't have as good a month in the business, but I made a commitment to give this much every month. Yeah, it might be a little uncomfortable for me to invite that person to church. But what we're going to need is bold, brave people to build this campus, to volunteer on Sundays, to give financially so that we can be a place like they are in Woodinville right now. And you just heard a story of 2 people whose lives have changed because of all the years of work of a budding campus and what they did, meeting in a sewage treatment plant for years before they had a building and a place. And that's in our future too. Not the sewage treatment plant, the building. So with that, let's pray for our tithes and offerings. Of course, you can always give in the little white box in the back. You can give on the app, and of course online on the website. With that, let's just pray for our tithes and offerings. Dear Lord, thank you for the reminder of what others have done before us. We know this church was planted in a school in Totem Falls 20 plus years ago with a few non-believers who decided to support this pastor who had moved in to the Mill Creek area and help him build a church, who then helped us build a church. And one day, people are going to look back 20 years and talk about the people that met at this school that changed the lives here in this city. Just bring people to the foot of your cross, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right. We are continuing our series in wisdom, holy shift, chaos, or wisdom in a world of chaos. Last week I gave you my top 10 reasons why I think 2023 is going to be awesome. Today I thought, you know what? Kids. I have a lot of kids, and they say some things sometimes that are either just terrible, and you wonder where that came from, and you remember, oh yeah, they're your kids, so they probably came from you. Or they just say something so wise, they're so wisdomous that you just have to kind of go, what? So what I thought was, let me look up some wise things that kids have said, and let's just learn from our next generation here a little bit. Here's the first one. When I asked my son, 5 years, he's 5, how his day was, he said it was awesome. I asked him what made it so awesome. His response, because I wanted it to be. I thought that was a good response. That's pretty cool. You can will it to be. Next one. How are we supposed to meet new people if we can't talk to strangers? I mean, you can't argue with that logic on that one. Next, my 3-year-old said, it's okay if she isn't kind to me, talking about another little girl. I can show her how. Again, some good wisdom there from this 3-year-old. I told my son when he was 8 that the early bird catches the worm. He told me, although the early bird catches the worm, the night owl catches the mouse, and there's more protein in a mouse. Again, good wisdom right there. My 4-year-old said, you might be scared, but sometimes being scared is worth it. Another piece of solid advice. Next, Mommy, I'm not joking, I'm not kidding, I'm not playing, I need chocolate. That's good morning, do you need a hug? Actually, I need pancakes, not this hug. I thought that was pretty wise as well, too. Today, we're going to talk about impulsive desires and temptation. We're just going to talk about what it means to all struggle. Every single person in this room struggles with some area where it just seems to have a hold of you. And we know this. And it's different across the board. What one person struggles with is not what another person does. But self-control is something that is talked about a lot in the Bible. It's one of the fruits of the Spirit. Jesus talks about it. King Solomon here is going to talk about it as well too. This is an important concept.
What is self-control and why is this important? Well, it's important because what you can't control will inevitably control you. And that is just reality. And even advertising sometimes makes it hard to have self-control. If I say this phrase to you, you tell me what the product is. You guys ready? Bet you can't eat just one. Lay's. You were close though. You were in the chip family. Just the wrong chip. Lay's. Bet you can't eat just one. They're tempting you to eat just one. And they're not wrong. You put one of those chips in your mouth and 15 more will go in immediately. You guys know this. Next, here we go. What product is this? Just do it. Nike, right? I don't know what it is, but you're supposed to just do it. Have it your way. Burger King. Burger King, not McDonald's. McDonald's is ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Anyways, there's other ones that they have. Have it your way, which means the way they make it is not good enough. If it's not good enough, just tell us how you want it, and we will make it your way. This one's going to be a little tougher. You ready? Because you're worth it. Ladies, close. Close. You're in the right family. L'Oreal. It was makeup. You're worth it because you're worth it. So you're supposed to buy their product. And then last but not least, hungry, why wait? Snickers, absolutely. These are just a few. There were hundreds of different slogans that talked about just indulging in whatever this product is. And there's different levels of self-indulgent temptations, anything from food to just being lazy, to anger, lust, drugs, alcohol. And it's not just sex related. It's not just alcohol related. Temptation can be so many different things that pull you away from being closer to God. And whatever that is for all of us is what we need to control. And discipline is usually hard to do. It's hard to practice. There's some areas that you're going to just be lights out and it's no issues. And in others, it's going to take a little more work. One person may not struggle at all with alcohol and another person is highly addicted. We all have our vices. You may say, well, I'm good at being disciplined and I'm always making sure that I get everything done. And then you spend 6 hours binging videos on Facebook and Instagram. And you're like, whoa, 6 hours, what just happened? I've been there, not 6 hours. It was like five and a half, so don't judge me. But we've all done this. And today we're going to look at a story that Solomon shares, and his context is sexual sin, but the overarching story is about self-control and wise decision making. So let's look at the story. This is in Proverbs chapter 7, starts in verse 7. We're going to read through 9. It says, I saw some naive young men, one in particular who lacked common sense. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path by her house. Let's stop there. Strolling. He didn't walk quickly. He was just kind of like, hey, I'm just gonna, how you doing, Miss Robinson? How you doing over here? And he's just walking slowly, like he's looking for something. And it was at twilight in the evening as deep darkness fell. The first thing that Solomon is warning us about in reference to having self-control is he is saying we need to pay attention to location and times. Solomon is telling the story. He's setting this up with a lot of narrative. He's setting the scene. There's this naive young person, which means they're not super wise. They don't have a lot of experience. Maybe they're even innocent, although I doubt he was that innocent because he's walking like, hey, Mrs. Robinson kind of situation. And he's pointing out that the situation is obvious. That's what Solomon is saying. He's saying this is obvious to everyone else except for this young man. And he gets close to the woman's house, who is known for her promiscuity, and he's doing it at night when secrets are easier to keep. He is setting the stage for a series of bad decisions that he made. There was one time in particular, I was in a city called Fontana, which is in Southern California. And you guys ever seen Fast and the Furious? Yeah, that was my life for a little bit. And so me and my friends went to the street races back when we were in our early 20s, and everyone had their tricked out cars and their Tacomas and their Tercels and everything with the lights. And I mean, like it was Anyways, and we're out in the really late at night, like super late, because they do it in the middle of the night because you can't do it during the day because there's cars and cops and whatnot. And so there's hundreds of cars just kind of parked and you get the trunks up. It's just like Fast and Furious. I'm not joking. Except there was no Vin Diesel character. That would have made it even cooler, but there wasn't. And you had all these cars, and every once in a while, one car would puff up their chest and be like, I'll race you, and then they would race. And sometimes it was for pinks, and it got crazy, and sometimes it was just for fun and bragging rights, and motorcycles would come out. It was like what you saw on TV. That's life imitates art kind of situation. And we were out in one particular time, and every once in a while, just like on the show, you would hear over the radio, cops are coming, so then we'd all disperse, and we all kind of dispersed, and we drove around through Fontana, and Fontana's not really it's not a nice city. It's kind of a rougher city. There's lots of sketchy areas, lots of sketchy neighborhoods. It was at one point the meth capital of the United States, so that kind of gives you a little picture of what's happening. And we're driving around, just kind of killing time, looking, not necessarily we weren't looking for trouble, we were just driving around trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And we ended up in one really, really sketchy part. As soon as we drove in, we're like, oh, that was how bad it was. Like, we knew we were probably in the wrong spot. And sure enough, we were at a light, and another car pulls up, and there's like 5 guys in the car, and the guy on the passenger side yells out to us. He said, where are you guys from? And now that's like gang vernacular for what gang are you a part of? And knowing this, we're like, nowhere. You just say nowhere. We're from nowhere. And all of a sudden, these 5 dudes all get out of the car. And they're like, you guys need to get out of the car too. And we're like, oh, we're about to get carjacked or worse. And my buddy who was driving, he didn't even hesitate. He just hits the gas and we just take off. And his car was faster than theirs, so it was really easy to lose them. But we just took off. Didn't look back, and we see them, all running back into their car. We turned the corner, got on the freeway, and they never found us. But it was one of those situations where I look back on it, and I'm like, we made a series of bad decisions that led us to this moment that could have been terrible. It could have been a life or death situation. They could have pulled out weapons and not even said anything and just unloaded. There were so many different scenarios that could have happened. And we made all of these decisions based off of really no thought. Let's, at 2 a.m, let's go out to the races. Let's hang out at the races and run from each other and gang members. And it's just one thing after another. When we're just driving around, well, let's go to this part of Fontana. We've never been there. I'm sure it's okay. Nope, it's not. It's terrible. Never come back. And we made all of these that could have gone absolutely terribly, and we weren't thinking. And this happened because of all of these decisions that we took steps to make. And Solomon is pointing out the same thing right here. He says this guy was not paying attention to what was happening around him. He wasn't paying attention to the fact that he was lingering too long in front of this woman's house who he shouldn't have. He's not paying attention to the fact that he's doing it in the evening when no one is going to be able to see what he's doing. And he's doing it in front of a woman who is known for seducing other men. A series of bad decisions over and over again. All of a sudden, it's like, how are you going to avoid the consequence? It goes on in verse 10. The woman approached him. Of course she did. Seductively dressed and sly of heart. Now, I'm going to stop there for a second. I've been married a long time, and so I'm going to say this carefully. Women don't get ready super quick. That was not funny yet. So the fact that she was already ready tells you what she was preparing herself to do. It wasn't like she saw him and was like, oh, let me get ready real quick, because that's not usually the case. She was ready and dressed seductively. She was probably waiting for someone to walk by. The trap was being set. Then it says she was brash and rebellious, never content to stay at home. She was often in the streets and markets, soliciting at every corner. The second area that Solomon is telling us to help with self-control, he says, pay attention to the people around you. Who are you around? You guys know I was a youth pastor for a number of years, and working with young people was an incredible experience. I loved it. And it was helpful to me as a youth pastor that I made terrible decisions as a youth. Terrible, terrible decisions. And there was one particular teen that came to mind who was getting frustrated with all the consequences and kept saying, why do I keep getting in trouble? And the immediate answer of, because you're dumb, is not going to fly usually. They don't like to hear that kind of stuff. So you just say, well, what happened? Well, I got in trouble at school today. One of my friends accidentally set fire to himself. What? Accidentally set fire to himself. Hold on, I need to absorb that for a second. I got to unpack the mental images of stuntmen in full, flame retardant suits running down the halls. That's what I'm thinking in my head. And I said, wait, at school? Was it in shop class? Nope, not in shop class. Okay, just keep going. I got to hear this story now. Well, we're hanging out break, and my friend, he grabbed some rubber cement out of his backpack, and he said, did you know this is flammable? So then, a caution flag should be going off right now, right? Why does he have rubber cement in his bag? I don't know, he just did. So then he rubbed some on his locker, and then this young man had a lighter and lights it, and sure enough, it goes up. It's like flames all on the locker, and we're like, ooh. So then he's like, cool, what else? Can we write our name? So then he's trying to write his name with this rubber cement brush, and he gets a little too close to the actual flame. So then the flame, what does flame do when it catches other flammable liquids or solids? It follows it. So then he's doing this, and it's like following him, and all of a sudden the jar is now aflame, and this is the source of all of the stuff. So he's just like, and he throws it on the ground. And we're looking at it, and now all of a sudden, there's fire everywhere. But then a teacher starts walking around the corner. So in his bright idea, I'm going to stomp it out. So he starts stomping on this thing, and wet rubber cement starts going up his pant leg. Luckily, he was wearing jeans, and now he's up to fire to his thighs. Do you know what we did as his friends? Yup, we laughed the whole time on the floor, holding our sides, dying laughing so hard. The teacher comes over, sees him on fire, which is not a normal school day, right? You don't normally walk into school and think, I wonder if a kid is going to be on fire today. And he walks around the corner, and my friend is freaking out. He's taking his pants off, which another story, and he throws his shoe on the ground. So now he's pantless. His pants are still on the fire on the ground next to him. His shoes are on fire. The teacher's freaking out. He comes over, and he grabbed a fire extinguisher out of the classroom, and he's putting everything out. Everyone's fine. He was fine. He didn't even get burned, which is a minor miracle in itself. But then the teacher goes, what are you guys doing? And of course, being solid, upstanding citizens, we're like, I don't know. What do you mean, what are we doing? What happened? It's like, why was he on fire? I don't know. That was weird. He was on fire. And our teacher, he takes all of our IDs and said, all right, you guys come with me. And of course, we all got in trouble. And we all got sent to the principal's office. And I argued, I did nothing. He's just, I didn't do anything. And he's just, you think in your head, what in the world just happened? Let's unpack the events. What went wrong? A kid was lit on fire. That's not what really went wrong. I mean, that's the consequence of a bunch of what went wrongs. A bunch of foolish actions. Let's go step by step. Let's get dressed. Why not grab a lighter and bring it to school? I mean, even if you don't smoke, you never know if you need a lighter. I mean, shoot, maybe someone has a birthday cake and you're just going to be that person that bails them out of, I forgot my matches. Oh, I've got a lighter. Why? Why would you bring it to a school? And then why does one person have a jar of rubber cement, even though it is flammable? Why bring it to school to show someone without a lighter too? And then when someone pulls out a lighter, you think it's also a great idea to rub it on the lockers at school. And then why stomp on flammable liquid? Do you see where this is going? There's just like a series of terrible, terrible decisions. Because there was no thought to the consequence. There was zero thought to the consequence. A series of actions to impress friends that led you closer and closer to the consequence. But you never thought, what could go wrong in this scenario? Never once thinking, this could have been worse. He could have really hurt himself. There could have been expulsion. There wasn't. It was just like 3 years of detention. But he could have gotten really hurt. These consequences were not thought of. And this young man in Solomon's story was not paying attention to the people around him. He was not paying attention to the fact that he was walking in the dark close to this woman who was notorious in the town for what she does and her aggressive pursuit of sin. He's not thinking about all of this. One of my old mentors used to tell me, your behavior will be a collection of the people you spend time with the most. And he's not wrong. Those that pursue destruction will inevitably be your destruction if those are the people that you hang out with the most. It will happen. He's right. I've seen it over and over again. I've had the luxury of being a pastor for many years, so I've seen patterns of behavior for a long time. And absolutely, the collection of people that either encourage and support you or bring you down is going to determine how you behave every single time. Every time. And sometimes they come up with great ideas that leave you with a sense of regret. If that is your norm and not the exception, then when things go bad in your life, you can't be pointing fingers at other people because you have made the conscious decision to stay in that path with them. We got to find people around us and put priority to the people around us that fill us and not drain us. Let's keep going. Verse 13. She threw her arms around him and kissed him. And with a brazen look, she said, I've just made my peace offerings and fulfilled my vows. You're the one I was looking for. I came out to find you, and here you are. My bed is spread with beautiful blankets with colored sheets of Egyptian linen, and I perfumed my bed with myrrh and aloes and cinnamon. She's making a cake? That's weird. Come, let's drink our fill of love until morning. Let's enjoy each other's caresses, for my husband is not home. He's away on a long trip. He has taken a wallet full of money with him and won't return until later this month. So she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. You ever heard the term, it's always too good to be true, or it's too good to be true, then it probably is? You ever heard that? She laid a trap and he fell right into it. Right into it. This lady is making a compelling argument to this young man. I'm assuming she's attractive because she was living a life of promiscuity, and attraction does play a part in that. But she starts off with her seduction of him by saying that I have fulfilled my spiritual obligation. Did you notice that? I have fulfilled my offering and my vow. So she had taken her sin offering to the priest and cleaned the slate. I always thought that was interesting. Why would she even say that? Maybe it was to combat every possible excuse that he's going to give her. Well, I can't because you are technically unclean. I can't be with you. Sorry. And maybe she didn't want that excuse in her head, or maybe someone else said it to her in the past. So she's thinking, okay, I don't want that excuse on the table, so I'm going to wipe that off the table. You don't have to worry about that. I've fulfilled my offerings and my duties. I am now a clean person. So she takes that off the table. And then she says, well, I'm married, but you know what? You're the one that I really want to be with. You're the one that you're my soulmate. I need you. We belong together. Come inside and see how much I love you. My husband was a mistake. You're the one. I thought it was an interesting series of words from her. I have a friend who, when we were younger, he was kind of like this naive young man where he just never really thought the worst of people, which is a great quality to have. And it's great that he had friends like me who always thought the worst of people first. And so it was a good balance between us. And there was one particular time where he caught the eye of one of these young ladies that we knew. And we all warned him. We said, bro, you cannot go after this one. She's going to eat you alive. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, she just is notorious for dating dudes and then going crazy and flipping out, and she set fire to stuff like that kind of crazy. And he's like, no, I know her. You guys don't know her like I know her. And we're like, I'm telling you right now, we know the other 6 boyfriends at this point, and they've all had the exact same story. It's great for like 2 weeks, and then a switch flips, and it's like, what just happened? And we're sharing all this, and we're naming these dudes. And like, you know all these guys, call them. He's like, no, they don't know her like I know her. She and I are different. Well, one day he was invited to go on a walk with her, and so they go on this walk, and I said, you don't think it's odd? It's like 11 at night. She wants to go on a walk. You don't think that's weird? He's like, no, she just really likes the stars. I'm like, okay. You can't see any stars, but sure, we're in the city. But yeah, sure. This is not going to go well for you, bro. He's like, no, dude, you don't know her. I'm like, you're right. Do what you got to do. At some point, you got to let your kids grow up, even though he's not my kid. So then, a couple hours later, he comes running back to, we were roommates. He comes back to our room, and you could just see this panicked look on his face. Like his eyes were all big. He shuts the door, and he's like, don't let anyone in. Like, all right. What happened? He's like, you will not believe what just happened to me. Like, I probably will, because I warned you. And he's like, well, we were on a walk, everything was going great, and we were talking about how beautiful everything is, and we saw the one star in the sky, it was beautiful, we made a wish, and then all of a sudden, she started getting a little close, and she started hugging me, and I'm like, cool, hugs are great, so I hug her back, and then all of a sudden, she's trying to kiss me, and I'm like, no, that's cool, we just, we're cool, hold on a second, let's slow down, and then, dude, she jumped on me. I was like, what do you mean, jumped on you? I was like literally jumped on me, and wrapped her arms and legs around me. And I said, oh, wow, what'd you do next? He's like, I just stood there. I didn't know what to do. And I said, well, she's obviously not on you now, so what happened? And he's like, well, I kind of shook her off of me, and she fell off. And then she got really mad that I shook her off and said, well, why'd you do that? So then I said, well, I don't know, why'd you jump on me? And she's like, because I want you. And he's like, what? So then she just starts sharing all the ways that she wanted him. And then his little eyes, because he's very naive, he was like, what is happening? And I said, what'd you do next? He said, I ran. So you just left her out in the dark? So yes. I said, good for you. Like he pulled a Joseph with, the wife, and he did exactly. He's like, that was the only thing he was thinking of. He was like, I just remembered that story from the Bible where he was seduced by Potiphar's wife, and he just ran. And I was like, that's what you did? He's like, yes, I just ran. I was gone. I was not even going to mess around. I turned around, and she's still sitting on the floor, and I said, she ain't catching me. And then I came here, and I was like, that's why you're all sweaty. He's like, yes. It's like, okay. What'd you learn? Long pause, just like that. He was trying to figure it out. So did you learn anything from this? And he said, well, I learned to listen to my boys a little bit more. I was like, that's good. He's all, I also learned to ask better questions of people. I said, oh, that's good. And it was funny because the next day it was like nothing ever happened. She didn't even, whoa, what? We just went on a walk, like nothing happened. I was like, really? You didn't do anything weird? She's like, no, what did he say? I was like, nah, he just said it was a cool night. She's like, yeah, that's what happened. I was like, okay. But I mean, I look at this story and I think about this, and it's all enticing, and she was attractive. Don't get me wrong, she was beautiful. So I understand why he was drawn and enticed to her. I get it. And I understand this young man whose temptation is hard to avoid. She's beautiful. She's probably smells like cupcakes because, cinnamon and stuff. And she has her best clothes on, and she's removed all the reasons why we can't be together. It makes sense. But the stuff that he could have stopped before was the biggest difference. He could have avoided all of this if he had just thought about the consequences of just one of the few first steps that he took at night by a promiscuous woman, slowly walking by her house. If any one of those he just did not do, he wouldn't have fallen into her trap. He wouldn't have come inside and messed up. When we're talking about temptation, when we're talking about self-control, the key to overcoming all of that is to eliminate the steps before you get to the actual act. If you're struggling with eating too many donuts in one day, stop buying donuts. This won't happen without this. If you struggle with hitting snooze on your alarm clock over and over and over again, put your alarm clock on the other side of the room. There are steps that you can take to win over temptation. Let's keep going. We got one more point. Verse 35. Listen to my instructions and be wise. Don't ignore it. Joyful are those who listen to me, watching for me daily at my gates, waiting for me outside my house. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. Solomon is imploring us, listen and be wise. That is the key to overcoming self-control, or to have self-control, to overcoming temptation. People, places, situations, these seem to be the foundations of good or bad decisions. The right people, the right foundations, that can help you with good decisions. The wrong people and the wrong foundations make you inevitably fall into bad decisions. Who we listen to, who we spend time with. There have been moments where I've been working towards a bad decision and someone that I trust says something opposite that makes me just stop and think. You're right, this is probably not the best thing to do. And I'm here to tell you that wisdom is a learned behavior. It is. You can learn to be more wise. You can learn to pay attention. You can learn to be less impulsive. These are all things that you can do. You can even learn to be less rebellious. I think about all these stories that I told today, and these are all friends, and I think about that teen that set fire to his friend. And that was me. Literally. I set my friend on fire. Not on purpose, obviously. But those series of bad decisions that I, in the morning, for whatever reason, I don't even know why I had a lighter. I grabbed a lighter. I didn't smoke at that point. I had a lighter. My friend says, this is flammable. Let's light it. My friend's on fire. I'm going to laugh at him instead of helping him. When the teacher says what happened, I'm going to play dumb. I mean, these are all series of bad decisions, and I'm lucky that the punishment that I got, because technically he couldn't prove what happened, was a bunch of detention. But it could have been so much worse. And when we're talking about being impulsive, when we're talking about making bad decisions, it all comes down to, who do you listen to? If you listen to God, if you listen to the people in your life that seem to lift you up, then the natural reaction and the natural action that will come out of you will be less towards lacking self-control and falling into temptation, and more towards pursuing God in a godly way and making better decisions. I promise you, it happens every single time. So what are some of the things that we can do? I want to leave you with just some practical things we do before we pray. Obviously, to be wiser, the number one thing is what? You spend time with God. Spend time with God. We still have a ton of Bible reading plans. We just started a couple of weeks ago. It's not too late to get involved, to be a part of it. We have a New Testament, we have an Old Testament, and we actually have a Proverbs-based one too that you can be a part of. This is a great way to just kickstart being wiser. The second thing is, and I don't want to do that as just a pastor answer, like read the Bible because the pastor said so. It really does work. Second is enlist help. Who can you lean on? Who are the people in your life that you trust? Who are the people in your life that you know will send truth your way and not just kind of dance around what you think you need to hear? Who are people in your life that you can lean on? And the last thing is, if you do have an addiction problem, we do have groups at our Mill Creek and our Woodinville campus, and one day we will at our campus as well too, that will help you with addiction as well. And it is never too late to ask for help. So I want to leave you guys with some of those steps, and I just want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. Let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you that you are the God that can overcome anything, and we just pray right now. We are in so many different places in this room and watching online, in addiction, in self-control, in temptation, in struggles. We all have different areas. But what solidifies us and unifies us is the fact that we all know that feeling of struggling. So I just pray right now that in this moment, God, that we don't feel like we have to do this alone. That we surrender control to you, God, that we enlist help, that we make active efforts to pursue you and to pursue wisdom. God, help us to recognize steps before it's too late. Open our eyes, Father, to making better decisions before it's too late. And I ask for this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you guys for being part of church this morning. We're going to continue the series next week with some more fun, wisdomous things that we can talk about. But other than that, I will see you guys next week.